I've had a long rest, and now it's time to get back to work. Hey, how's it going, everybody? Lorenzo here with Indie Comics and Reviews, and welcome to another episode of Indie Comics Review. It's been a long recovery for me. I'm still working on it, but it's time to get back in the old harness. And this week I've came back with 3 indie comic books from recent weeks that I'm going to review for your viewing pleasure. If this is the kind of content you find interesting, be sure to hit that like button and the subscribe button. Now let's get started. The first book of the week is Monkey Meat, and that is by Junie Ba. It is on the Image label. Monkey Meat is an Image book, and it's a new thrilling anthology, so it says here. One of my favorite cartoonists named Junie Ba. Junie Ba in this series introduces a fantasy universe. The Monkey Meat Corporation made its fortune selling cans of processed meat all around the world. Using that money to fuel their wacky experiments, they turned their native island into a magical, hyper-capitalistic hellscape where even demons have to pay rent. Follow the lives of the creatures of Monkey Meat Island in this fun, action-packed romp. Each issue is its own story. So, each issue is its own story. And in this story, Junie basically introduces us to some of the main characters. There is the overlord. There is this corporate master who's in charge of Monkey Meat Island. Then there's this poor schmuck who works for him. And this guy has to do the bidding of the Monkey Meat Corporation. Basically, it's an allegory for modern workspaces and for the modern workforce, actually, and just the bleak, impossible, just hopeless outlook that many of us have in this world where we're working ourselves to death with no relief in sight. The evil corporations, they can convince us how everything is just great, all the while just working us to within an inch of our lives. I know some people may have found this hard to follow, or they don't really understand what the allegory is what he's trying to tell you in this allegory, I should say. I understand that, but it's not trying to hit you over the head. It has a powerful commentary without being preachy. I especially love Junie's use of color. His line work is just so brilliant, and his color just works so well with this book. He's a colorist as well, since he did all the artwork on this book. And it just shows so much creativity. Monkey Meat is what happens when capitalism reaches the cancer stage and it just starts to eat itself. I know a lot of people out there think capitalism is good, greed is good, and all that stuff. But it's resources are finite, and we just can't continue on this path that we're on. Unbridled capitalism, unregulated capitalism cannot continue to work. I know here comes the socialist comments, but I'm all for making money. I'm all for everyone having free enterprise and all that, but much of that is just a myth, and Monkey Meat kind of helps expose that myth in its own satirical way, its own comical satirical way. Now, since it's an anthology series, each month is going to be different. So I look forward to seeing what they're going to do with next month's Monkey Meat. When you're dealing with floppies like this, and the stories are told on a monthly basis, you have to have time for the story to develop. So I can see why a lot of people would look at this and say, I don't understand this. This is just, you're talking about making canned food out of monkey meat. But it's just more to it than just what you see on the surface. If you can see beneath the surface and you can see what he's trying to represent, then this can be quite an enjoyable thing. I love some of Junie Ba's work on things like the Batman Adventures season 2, issue number 5. He really did a really great cover in that series. Bottom line, it's probably not a series for everyone, but if you love cartoonists, and if you love good cartooning, if you love wry satirical humor that pokes at the establishment, then Monkey Meat is something you probably would enjoy. Personally, I already subbed to it, and this is going to be on my pull list for as long as he wants to make it. So Monkey Meat in my opinion, is a winner. Check it out. The next book is Buckhead, #1. Actually, Buckhead #1 and #2, because I read both issues now since they came out. #1 came out a few weeks ago. This is #1, and #2 came out last week. And Buckhead is written by Shobo, and it is drawn by George Kambadius. What strange secrets lie in the mysterious town of Buckhead, USA? It's not actually Buckhead, Atlanta at all. It's like Buckhead, Washington, D.C. or something like that. So it's kind of a fictional town. There's a kid named Toba and his mother. His mother's a renowned scientist, and they've immigrated to the U.S., but instead of living in the big city like Toba always dreamed, they moved to a sleepy little town in the Pacific Northwest called Buckhead. So it's Buckhead in the Pacific Northwest, but it says Washington, D.C. in the book. So I'll overlook that little flaw there. In the middle of the picturesque pedestrian town, Toba discovers that things aren't as perfect as they seem. It does look kind of like it's the P&W, but then they do mention in book #1 that it's Washington, D.C., so I'm not really sure that they got that. They weren't really sure about their geography there. But anyway, Toba, and there's a whole thing about how to pronounce his name. His friends were mispronouncing it, and only the people that really could pronounce his name properly were his best friends, as it works out. So it's like he meets 3 other kids and become like this little clique in their school where they will just investigate things. And Toba thinks that there's some weird stuff going on, like with men in black hats and black suits. And he thinks his mother may or may not be involved in this, and she may be either a part of it or she may be being forced to do stuff against her will. Now, Toba's father was also a scientist, and he disappeared in some strange experiment a few years before, I guess, a few years after he was born, I should say. And one of the other kids has a father who's has passed away, but Toba still thinks that his father is alive. And he's given some hope for that in issue #2 without giving away too much of the story. He also runs into this girl who has this dog, and they may or may not be some kind of, I don't know, these sorcerers or some way they're able to freeze time. When he passes by their house, time freezes. Or when he steps into their yard, I should say, time freezes. When he hops out, it goes back to the way it was again. So there's a lot of weird stuff going on with that. And it just seems like this is a book that it seems like it's all ages, because it's very clean. The stories are very wholesome. The artwork is very clean. It's a nice book. If you're looking for an all ages book for your preteen or a kid like that, I think this would be a perfect book for that. So yeah, Buckhead is worth checking out. I think from this Boombox imprint that Boom has, I think for younger readers, it's a good thing. I don't normally enjoy a lot of all ages book, but Buckhead was a good read for me. I would recommend it if you're looking for something that's it's kind of not violent and also pretty interesting. And it's very diverse in its story. Just didn't get the geography right about the Pacific Northwest, but other than that, I have no qualms with Buckhead. It's a good story. Check it out. Next book is Bylines in Blood, and it is on the Aftershock label, and it is written by Erica Schultz and Van Jensen, and illustrated by Aneki. Bylines in Blood. In the future, the very concept of truth has died. Politicians invent their own facts, and independent newspapers no longer exist. In this world, private detectives serve as Ronin, searching out the hard truths that people are desperate to keep hidden. The best of these is Satya, known as Lady Dick. That's her private investigation agency. a former journalist turned gumshoe who runs every lead to the ground. But Sacha has just received her hardest case yet. Her old editor has been murdered. Someone wanted him silenced, and the trail points toward the highest bastions of power. To find justice for her friend, she'll have to put everything and everyone she knows at risk. Now, in this story, the mayor, the politicians are just crooked as hell, and the mayor is crooked as a barrel of snakes. And Sacha's old editor has been murdered, and her daughter comes to Sacha to hire her to find out what happened to her. Now, Sacha reminds you a lot of Jessica Jones. She's this hard-drinking, pot-smoking, short-tempered private detective. And she pretty much gave up on being a journalist because journalism was just pretty much under attack, much as it is today, actually. And people, there's, I guess, in this world, journalists are more just talking heads. And in their world, journalists have just been pretty much silenced. So in the beginning, she goes looking for this missing girl, and she finds a missing girl in a discotheque. She gets into a fight with a guy, and she just proves how tough she is, basically. And she reminds you a lot of Jessica Jones, very cool. She has an anger problem, maybe a drinking problem, but she's cool. She's a good person. And as the story goes on, you can see just how it's going to be difficult for her to come through in this case, because it's the odds are stacked against her. The police, they kind of work with her a little bit, but then they don't really tolerate the detectives in their world. There's some good stuff in the back matter as far as information about Sacha's past, the corruption of the mayor, and this proliferation of pharmaceutical drugs that they have in this world. There's like this ad for this drug everywhere. You can see billboards for it. It's like they want everybody on this stuff because I guess it gets you in the right kind of a controllable mindset. Aftershock's been doing a lot of good detective crime-like stories. There was 10 Years Till Death. It was a one-shot that came out not long ago. There was Mother F. Goose with two really great covers, one Scarface and one Pulp Fiction. And there's this one, which looks like it may even be, if not an ongoing series, at least a limited series. And I would definitely give this book a look. It may have slipped by you last week, but Bylines and Blood is a good story, and I do recommend it. So check out Aftershock is coming up with some really, really good books these days. So that's it for this Indie Comics review. Kind of a light one this week. I'm not doing an Artist Alley. Just kind of getting back into the swing of things. So next week I'll probably be back to my normal Thursday schedule. This was just to get some books reviewed that I've been hoping to review, and this is just the first one of the new season. So thanks for stopping by. Be sure to hit the like button and the subscribe button, and be sure to stop by next week because I'll be doing another Indie Comics review on Thursday this time. So until next time, see you guys in the funny papers. Hey, don't forget to subscribe and leave a thumbs up.